is one of the most successful storytellers in an industry that knows how to tell stories. Tim is a creative pioneer. He's had one foot firmly planted in traditional television with a history that runs from Crossing Jordan to Heroes to Touch, a new show which is about how we're all connected. Pretty interesting. Starring Kiefer Sutherland. Tim is also deeply involved with transmedia, storytelling through mobile devices, tablets, internet, and alternate reality games. The alternate reality game, Conspiracy for Good. Tim blended entertainment technology and philanthropy to allow the audience to become part of the story and create a positive, real-world change. Please join me in welcoming Tim Kring.
Hi, everybody. It's a huge room. I can't believe it. Well, let me put my first slide up so I know where I am. Yes, I don't know anything about, what was it, SEMs and convergence. And some of you, as my introduction gave you, know me from some of my TV shows. Some of you know me from Heroes. This is I think I'm feedbacking here a little bit. My entourage here that follows me around. Some of you know me from my new show, Touch, starring Kiefer Sutherland, on Thursday nights on Fox. But I actually wanted to talk to you today wanted to tell my own story, about my own journey as a storyteller, and about how this traditional road has led me to a new relationship with the audience. And this different relationship with the audience has led me to an idea of using archetypal narrative to help create and promote positive change in the world. And finally, I wanted to talk to you about how the challenges of the changing landscape of technology is taking storytelling to these new levels, and why it's actually pertinent to talk to you about that. Now, when I first started my career, it was 27 years ago. I started my career in Hollywood as a writer, auspiciously writing for a talking car. I think there's probably some out there who feel that was the highlight of the career. It's all downhill from there. But at the time, writing for television and dealing with an audience and your relationship with an audience was a very simple thing. We basically told story one way. We were able to make an episode of television a couple of months before the audience saw it, and you push it out into the world, and you hope that people watch it. And if they did, you would anecdotally know about it based on the Nielsen ratings. And other than that, there was really no way of knowing what the audience was feeling or thinking about it. And 20 years later, my show Heroes, when it came along at a time when everything had started to change, and the audience was beginning to fragment into dozens of different platforms and fleeing the traditional television for all of these various platforms. The goal then became how to reach that audience and tell story to them where they actually lived. And so we took the approach that we would try and tell story everywhere. So we created this kind of 360-degree platform around the show that allowed us to reach the audience where they were. We told story in web extras and online comics. We had story told in video games, in fan-generated content that came to us. We told story in print, on online comics. We even told story in people's email boxes. We told story on the back of boxes that we sold merchandise on. Anywhere we could reach the audience, we would tell story in alternate reality games, that sort of thing, and on mobile, of course. And And what this did was it created this dynamic, immediate relationship between me as a storyteller and the audience. And it was a very exciting way to tell a story. I'm going to show you a couple of clips in a row here that sort of talk about how we did this. Heroes was designed to be a multi-platform universe that could actually connect to the audience where they live. I started to think about the kind of show that would capture a zeitgeist. How do these characters from different parts of the world come together to do something great? It was not just the size and scale of the show and the big, broad canvas that we had. The part that really connected the audience was this underlying message of hope and interconnectivity and this wish fulfillment that even the most ordinary among us could be destined for something great. In order to reach this audience, we had to tell story where they lived on multiple platforms. We started allowing that fan base to create content, to push content to us. So there's another clip coming up right now from the NBC promo department, so you'll excuse the sort of cheesy narration, but here it goes.
The two-screen experience also allows users to interact with the show during broadcast and test their knowledge against the online community with polls and trivia. Fans are invited to submit their own artwork to the online art gallery and create their own video mashups. The online audience pitched in to create and choose their very own hero, slated to appear in original online webisodes. Heroes, widgets, and embedded news updates are now available for users to personalize their own websites, blogs, and online profiles. With original online stories that impact and extend on-air broadcasts, unique web and mobile features, and countless ways for fans to interact, Heroes on NBC.com offers the most innovative and immersive interactive TV experience on the web.
So this online audience that had found one another and found the show was not only showing its passion to each other online, but they literally, if you've ever seen. If any of you have ever had the insane pleasure of going to the Comic-Con convention in San Diego, then you'll recognize what happens when fans come out of their homes and into the real world to gather around their fandom of a show. This was an event that we had where we had 6,000 people show up basically to hear us answer some questions and show a couple of clips. And what it really demonstrated to me was the power of story to get people to come out of their homes and to gather around a narrative. And I started to see that this audience that we had formed because of this immediate relationship with the show was not only connected to the show and connected to each other, but they were also connected to this underlying idea that was in the show Heroes, this message of hope and interconnectivity, of global consciousness, of saving the world. And so I got to thinking, what if we took that idea, this save the world idea, and its underlying message, and it wasn't just in fiction, but actually rolled it out into the real world. And what if this actually ended up doing something positive, some real world results? And this was a new form of storytelling that we call social benefit storytelling, a chance for people to insert themselves into a narrative, get something out of it, and in doing so, become a part of something positive. And in a nutshell, the goal was to try and create a large narrative that used the tools of multi-user online games and combine it with the power of social networking and create an event out of it. So this is the part of my presentation where I'm going to ask you to suspend your disbelief for a few minutes and go with me on a little bit of a narrative adventure of our own here. Because right about now in the story is when I tell you about how I was contacted by an ancient secret society called Spira that had actually operated Since the 1st century AD, you just never knew it, a clandestine underground movement called the Conspiracy for Good. Now this ancient organization has existed all this time, hidden in the shadows, quietly responsible for many of the leading artistic, philosophical, political, and technological advances of the last 2,000 years. And as you can see, the signs to this organization have actually been there all along. You just didn't realize they were there because we were all blinded by things being in plain sight. So the meeting that I had with them resulted in my getting an assignment. This assignment was to launch a pilot project that would become perhaps the largest multi-platform narrative ever done. In the summer of 2010, we completed the pilot in the City of London. And what made this a truly unique project was its combination of multi-platform storytelling with real positive results. In this case, we built a library in a village in eastern Zambia. We stocked 4 other libraries with 10,000 books donated by the participants and provided 50 scholarships to schoolgirls. And it started with this very simple idea: use the skills that I had learned with Heroes in developing an audience online and combine it with a noble cause that needed our help. In this case, the cause was Room to Read, which is an organization that builds libraries in underdeveloped parts of the world. They built over 10,000 libraries. And so the challenge was how to connect 2 seemingly unconnected kind of concepts here. One is a fan base that would form around a narrative with a worthy real-world cause. And the solution was to create this multi-platform narrative that would roll out over several months. In the online and eventually onto in the city of London. And it would roll out on multiple platforms: online, mobile, music, Twitter, Facebook. It would become something that's pervasive, something that you live inside of, so that the clues that you would follow, the clues to the missions that you would have, would literally be hidden all around you, on the streets that you walk down, on the billboards that you passed on your way to work, in the music that you listened to. And this, of course, was a huge, massive undertaking. At the height of the project, we had 130 people working in 5 different countries on it. And the narrative actually began very simply with the introduction of our villain, a multinational corporation called Blackwell Briggs, that was involved in all things evil, from strip mining to deforestation and anything evil it was involved in. And we built a complete online presence for it, complete with websites. We had Twitter accounts. We had videos. The Twitter account, by the way, when we first launched it, one of our early followers was Karl Rove, of all people. Proving the idea that all evil doers somehow find one another. Now, we also, every bad guy needs a face, and ours came in the form of Sir Ian Briggs, the chairman of Blackwell Briggs. And we introduced him with a video. I'm going to show about 45 seconds of an 8-minute video that we introduced him in. The video was actually never meant to be found by the public, but of course we leaked it to Pirate Bay, and so that's how people found it. It was a video that was intended for the members of Parliament, urging them to pass what was a bill that was ominously called the Private Security Public Surveillance Act, which would of course greatly benefit Blackwell Briggs. So here's the reason I'm showing it to you is just obviously to see the face of our bad guy, but also to give you a sense of the production value that it takes to kind of entice people and lure them into a narrative.
You have the power, the right, the obligation to make a difference. And we ask that you give our one world a chance. Our world. Your choice.
So they're a very aspirational company that does great things in the world. What our audience didn't realize is that with this video, we had started to leak out or let out the fuse for what was going to become a classic David and Goliath story about a simple school teacher in Zambia who wants to build a library for her kids, only to find that this evil corporation has built a pipeline right through the village. And so she takes it upon herself to go and confront this corporation all by herself. We follow her in real time from Zambia all the way to London, and that's how we did it. But 3 months earlier, we started with this alternate reality game that started as just a trickle of information, leaking out information that would entice and kind of educate the audience on how to watch and how to sort of absorb this particular content. So, for instance, we take an innocuous photograph like this online. We realize that there is a Morse code there, and we go to a Morse code translator, where we discover that there is a hidden message there. The message tells us that the badge is the key, and we look around and find, sure enough, there's a badge. We click on that badge, and there's another clue given to us. And through crowdsourcing and hive mind, we figure out that these are coordinates to some place. Through Google Maps, we follow those, and that's a city somewhere in Europe. It's Stockholm, of all places. And there on the streets of Stockholm is some story that's being given to us somehow. We just have to go out into the real location and find it. And sure enough, this is what happened. Participants went out into the real world, found what we had left for them. In this case, it was these documents, these top secret Blackwell-Briggs documents that were not meant to be found, obviously. And then these documents were actually used in the narrative 3 months later to help bring down this evil company. But it sort of gives you a sense of the kind of lengths of storytelling that a project like this went through. So I've talked sort of theoretically about it. I'm going to show now a sizzle reel here of what we did, just a couple of minutes sizzle reel of the London event.
In 2010, London witnessed the global launch of The Conspiracy for Good, a new form of entertainment called social benefit storytelling, which allowed people's participation inside a story to do real good in the real world. Released across the web, mobile and music, it became the most ambitious cross-platform story ever launched. And this is the story they told. Recording artist Nadira X puts her career on hold to build a library for an elementary school in Zambia. But British-based multinational Blackwell-Briggs halts construction of the library to make way for an oil pipeline. Nadira uncovers a document proving the company's claim to the land is false, and sets out on an epic journey to London to expose their fraudulent actions. Moved by Nadira's mission, people from around the world joined an ancient secret society known as the Conspiracy for Good. To help her cause, they watched her story across 21 webisodes as they guide her in real time from Zambia to London, deciphering clues and hacking the Blackwell-Briggs website. When Nadira arrives in London, the action bursts from the web and onto the streets, with 4 weeks of real-world gameplay and live theatre, where conspirators take part in digital scavenger hunts to solve the story's mystery and celebrate the day's action with secret underground concerts. In the end, urgent calls via social media networks result in flash mobs that overwhelm security forces and topple Blackwell's corrupt CEO. And to complete Nadira's mission, the audience use in-story tours to help her build a real library in Zambia, $1 and one book at a time.
You can't stop me, no, you can't stop me, if you're not a man. You can't stop me, not at all, you can't stop me.
The Conspiracy for Good. Are you a member?
So, thank you. The success of this project was really in the groundbreaking nature of the storytelling. It was this combination of multi-platform storytelling with real-world results that really proved this proof of concept that people will surround themselves with a narrative, get out of their comfort zone, go out into the real world, and become a part of, engaged in a story if the narrative is compelling enough. And so that was that was then, and this is now. This pilot project was connected London to Zambia with a somewhat small project with small results. The idea now is to go global and to make it big. And in order to do that, we obviously have to attach ourselves to ubiquitous brands, and we have to attach ourselves to broad distribution and to the power of social networking and the power of purchasing power of people's daily habits. So the idea now to take this big is to allow you now to be tapped on the shoulder, to become a part of this using the tools of modern connectivity, and insert yourself into the story wherever you are, not just on the streets of London. And so our mission statement is that our goal is to create an immersive social movement that inspires people through story, gaming, and human connection to generate positive change in the world. We value doing good in fun and imaginative ways. We value unique collaboration. We value the power of the individual actions to make a change in the world. And so the universe that this lives in, this Conspiracy for Good universe, is that story is always front and center. Story rides on top and stays in the middle. It's delivered through multiple platforms. The brands that connect to it share our values, connecting to causes that we and our audience find worthy. And they all live in this mobily connected world that we share. Now, as I said, there will be a narrative at the heart of this that will live it may be broadcast and it may be on the web, but it also will be everywhere. It will run for a certain amount of time so that you can slot yourself into it and become a part of it. It starts with the origin story of this new modern iteration of the conspiracy. It starts with the introduction of a character. This is Ruben Laszlos, who's 25 years old. He was an orphan growing up in Los Angeles, who recently has just begun a journey of discovery because he has realized that he has no memories prior to the age of 5 years old, and goes on this journey of discovery and discovers that there are 6 other young people around the world who find him, he finds them, and they discover together that they have a shared story here, that none of them remember their past. All of them are orphans, all of them seeking some sort of understanding that they're supposed to do something, driven by like a sleeper cell, they are, or like a pollen burst, they are ready to do something. And what we come to realize is that they are there to unite and to ignite and to create this rebrand and recreate the movement of Conspiracy for Good that has gone dormant 24 years earlier. The great thing about this is that it becomes social, I think, very quickly. This guy, Bob, whose Facebook page we are looking at here, finds Ruben's story and posts it on his news feed, and we find in the social network realm that all of these characters have Facebook pages that we can connect up to. And we begin to discover that content is everywhere around the internet. We even find this professor here who has created a documentary that tells the story of what happened 24 years ago after the Berlin Wall fell. Was the responsibility of the Conspiracy for Good to bring down the Berlin Wall. But after that, the members that had done this went underground. Some were killed. Their children were put into these orphanages. And this is the story that we are telling, is their reawakening. We, as an audience, discover a map that starts to tell us where this story is going to begin to unfold. This story will unfold over a set amount of time. Let's say it's a 30-day campaign or a 45-day campaign, and these are the places where it will take place. We, as an audience, can download apps that will help guide our characters and navigate them through the dangerous waters to various safe houses along the way. And one way that we can help them navigate this course is with potential retail partners who offer their stores as safe houses to our stories, helping to ferry the funds and services for the various causes that we're going to be showcasing in this story. We even have the possibility to find and meet these characters in live events and concerts that are partly sponsored by the Conspiracy for Good. Now, each one of these characters has attached themselves to a specific cause, and these causes are important to them and to their characters and who they are. These are ambitious campaigns that we, as the audience, can help them complete. We attach ourselves to these because of our shared values and our shared interests in these various causes. And where we really gain scale is when the brands jump on board. The brands, by this time, will have been infiltrated by the Conspiracy for Good at very high levels and will suddenly start to put themselves into the story. And this allows us to do something for brands that they can't do for themselves, which is tell their own story about what they're doing positive in the world. Brands have a very hard time tooting their own horn, but we can toot that horn for them. So the audience has these multiple touch points where they can pick up the story. They can experience it on a very kind of light level where they just check in on a weekly basis and watch episodes, that sort of thing. Or they can take a deep dive and across multiple platforms, they can immerse themselves into this narrative. And the result of this is that consumers and brands collaborate to make the world a better place. So this is really the part where the reason why I'm actually here is that the conspiracy has always used technology to bring transparency and connectivity to the world. This has been what they've done for 2,000 years, from the Gutenberg press to Alexander Graham Bell's first phone call to inventing the internet in 1957 or sending the first email in 1972 or whenever it was. Facebook, Twitter, of course, Conspiracy for Good ideas. And the reason why I'm here today is because the conspiracy has actually sent me here to engage all of you, because the next phase of this is a mobile payment solution that we feel you may be able to help us with. This payment solution will be a simple and elegant tool that allows people to put their daily behaviors to power in the form of portions of their purchases that will go to these various causes. So if you imagine, and this is perhaps what an ad campaign would look like, and if you imagine the time when you are able to live every aspect of your life as though you are living inside of a conspiracy for good, the brands that you interact with, the places that you frequent, the products that you buy, the music that you download would all be a part of a shared ecosystem, all sharing a traded currency, all allowing you to live inside of a dynamic sort of 360-degree narrative all the time. that shares your values. So the Conspiracy for Good is a movement, and it's a groundswell, and it's a game, it's an experience, it's a social network, it's a force for good, it's a way to connect, a way to tag your world, a way to consume consciously, a way to find meaning and to make a difference in the world. And there will be no such thing as the Conspiracy for Good until we build it together, because it is the power of we that will make it possible. So I want to thank all of you for inviting me here, and Magento for inviting me, and thank you for listening. Appreciate it.